F1 is back for the summer break with the Dutch Grand Prix, which, let's to be fair, the primary reason it's held is Max Verstappen. Finally, 5 attempts later, I get that intro done without saying Belgian Grand Prix. Now, in terms of upgrades, there's very little to mention. The only things of note, really, is Mercedes with a new floor edges, side pod inlet, and beam wing, Aston Martin with a new floor and diffuser, and Haas with a new front wing and nose. And it was a record-breaking race! After all, the most overtakes in a single race, 186 passes in the 2023 Dutch Grand Prix, which beats the previous record, which was China. And there was also a record made for the most overtakes in a single lap, which was lap 3, with 63 overtakes. Absolutely nuts. And moving on from the upgrade talk and on to the teams. Red Bull first, it doesn't take a genius to figure out who won. Yes, it was Max Verstappen with a record equaling 9th win in a row and his 3rd straight win at the Dutch Grand Prix. Frankly, we all can't, before this weekend even started, that he'll be the one winning. Seriously though, what Verstappen is currently doing and what he's managing to achieve is something special. And this one didn't come the easiest to him thanks to the weather, but he still held on and came out on top. Yes, it's appeared a bit boring to always see the same guy winning, but when that one guy goes on a run like this, yes, it can get a bit monotonous, but it's also something special that we're witnessing. It's not something that happens often. Meanwhile, Checo will have been hooping for a period bit of a better weekend. First of all, he qualified 1.3 seconds slower than Verstappen. Between them, it sat a McLaren and Mercedes, a Williams, an Aston, and a Ferrari. I'll be honest, that is a concerningly big gap. Helmut Marko apparently said that essentially Checo needs to perform to keep his seat for 2024, but then he supposedly turned around and said no, he's safe for 2024, and Horner said the same, but I don't know what to really think here. We'll see what happens come 2024, but Checo does need to improve that qualifying and not have such a big gap to Verstappen, because yes, it's Max Verstappen, but at the same time, 1.3 seconds is a big gap, even when your teammate is Max Verstappen, and needs to avoid picking up penalties that could cost him podiums like what happened with that pit lane speeding penalty. New on to Ferrari, they chose to remind everyone that teams hate to run a rookie driver twice in FP1 sessions this year when they put Robert Schwartzman into Sainz's car on the Friday morning. Seriously, I genuinely forgot this was a thing that the teams hate to do. As much as I want to hear a rant about Ferrari, if I do it in this video, it'll be way longer than I want it to be, so I'll save it for a video I'm going to do on them after Monza, so stay tuned. All I'll say is, my god, that team still needs to work on certain things. But Leclerc was rather fond of that turn 1 runoff on Saturday, wasn't he? 6 times he was up there before he crashed in Q3, a completely different part of the circuit. It really was a bit of a weekend to forget for him with that opening lap contact in the race that gave him damage to his front wing end plate that then went under his floor and damaged that. How unlucky can one man get? Apparently he lost 60 points of downforce from the damage, and with that in mind, I'm baffled as to why it took Ferrari as long as they did to retire him from the race. And on that opening lap incident, honestly, racing incident, it's lap 1, tricky conditions. I personally see it as a racing incident. I'll get a little more into depth on Ferrari this race and Ferrari in general another day, as I say, but I do want to give a quick mention to one thing. Leclerc denied those contract rumors that emerged during the summer break. And then after the race, he was asked if he had re-signed yet, and this was the look on his face when he said not yet. If you are giving a smile like that when saying not yet, you have got to be lying. I'm sorry, I am 100% convinced that man is lying and he has signed an extension. Then Sainz, first of all, I'd like to know what his definition of perfect is, because he dubbed it as a perfect qualifying. Now, okay, that car was pretty shit this weekend. And so yeah, getting P6, no so bad, but man, there was a Williams 2 places ahead of you. A fucking Williams. But he had a decent race. I can't say I noticed him overly too much, but it was decent for him. P5. I will admit, maybe slightly embarrassing for him that he hasn't scored a podium yet this year when both Alpines have scored 1 each and Leclerc has 3, but whatever. At Mercedes, I was rather surprised to see Hamilton going out in Q2. Usually in those wet and damp and changing conditions that we saw in qualifying, he's quite handy, so it was unexpected that he went out when he did. But as he said afterwards, shit happens. And frankly, that sounds like a good definition of Mercedes' entire weekend, aside from the fact that Hamilton did a good comeback to the points. But not without some questionable strategy on both sides of the garage, no boxing at the start when it was inters. I mean, it didn't end up so bad for Hamilton. For Russell, it could have gone better. I mean, he did retired from the race after having a bit of contact with someone. But anyway, race to forget on one side of the Mercedes garage. Alpine now, first of all, Alpine Juniors, Martins and doing kinda, it was just qualifying when they opted to game full elbows out like it's the final lap of the race and you're fighting for the win, right? But Pierre Gasly, take a fucking bow, my guy. P12 to P3, well done, Pierre Gasly. Okay, P12 to P4 on the road, inheriting P3, but whatever. It was a really good race for him. And after all the difficulties Alpine have had and all the mess that's been going on, it's great to see them getting a result like this. And I like Gasly. He's my second favourite driver, behind Leclerc, who's my favourite, of course. And in the absence of said Monegasque, it's great to see Gasly get a great result. He kept his nose clean, all apart from that 5-second penalty he got earlier in the race, but he didn't let that hold him back, and he still fought back to stay within 5 seconds of Checo to inherit that P3, so well done to the Frenchman. McLaren, they picked up where they left off kinda in qualifying at least. They'd have been hoping to finish higher than they did in the race, and I kinda thought they would, but you know, then the rain got involved and messed all thing up. But at the end of the day, both cars still finished in the points, which will be the main thing for them. And honestly, aside from that, I can't say I noticed the McLarens all that much. At Williams, I can finally speak about this man here. Logan Sargent finally did something this season. He made it to Q3 along with Albon, who, by the way, what a job from him in qualifying. But a qualifying session like that of getting into Q3 is something that Sargent needed to do because he is fighting for that seat. It is a bit of a shame he kind of ruined it all by crashing in Q3 and then in the race as well. But Williams, they were a lot better this weekend than I expected them to be. I mean, it was a great job by the team, a great job by Albon, especially, to score to stay inside the top 10 and score those points. Towards Haas, they announced ahead of the weekend, getting underway, that they'd be retaining Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hülkenberg for 2024, which I expected, and Nico Hülkenberg celebrated it by binning in FP1. And Kevin also did the same thing, but at a different corner in FP3. Haas took a new front wing to Zandvoort. Steiner cannot have been happy. Doing AlphaTauri, it was such a shame to see Ricciardo sidelined so soon after he came back due to that crash, but I wish him all the best in his recovery. It's a huge opportunity for Liam Lawson, meanwhile, to show what he can do in F1, and all things considered, I think he had a really solid debut. He was thrown in at the deep end with Zandvoort in a rubbish car with only one practice session ahead of qualifying and changing conditions, but he's gonna have another chance, or at least finish 2 races, because there's no way Daniel races in Monza or Singapore. No way. At Alfa Romeo, this is nothing to do with racing, but did you see the Bottas won some costume contest thing dressed as the Duff Man from The Simpsons, and the prize was his weight in beer? Trust the F1 driver who participates in a contest like that to be Finnish. And then Aston Martin, I have nothing except welcome back Fernando Alonso. Where the bloody hell have you been? Overall, that was a good watch. Okay, ignoring a certain Monegasque driver, that was a really good race. I enjoyed it. The weather really did bring the chaos in that one. And when the weather did change, it went from 0 to 100 very, very quickly. My expectations of an entertaining race were no high heading into this weekend, so to get one was a pleasant surprise. What did you think of the Dutch Grand Prix? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.